Yes. Manjiri, thank you so much for joining us at the Storytelling by and for Adults series on Monday, January 2 in the year 2023. Please tell us about your work, tell us where you're telling from, and please tell us a story.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you for the platform. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening. My name is Manjiri Gogate. I'm a storyteller and I'm telling from Mumbai. The name of my story is The House in Lonavala, and it's a personal story. Here goes. I woke up to the sound of the koyal. Coo, coo. And I was transported back to the time in my childhood when we used to go to Lonavala, an idyllic hill station, and stay there for the full summer. Early in the morning, we would get up, and we cousins, without a care in the world, we would go and hire bikes and go far away in the hills. And there used to be no construction sounds, no traffic, and we would come back completely rejuvenated. When we came back, we would be ravenous, and my aunt and my mother would be ready with our breakfast. It usually used to be eggs and toast, or sometimes Maharashtrian breakfast like poha or upma, and we would wolf it down. Later, we would play Bizik with my grandmother. Bizik is a card game. It is a little difficult and very intelligent game played with 6 pack of cards and 2 scorecards. And we would enjoy playing with her. We would sometimes get very boisterous and she would say, "Agu bhai, kiti awaaz karta? How much noise you make?" And still we would continue the same way. And later when she started losing, she would sometimes behave like a child and get angry. And we would try to humor her by asking her if she had got the mangoes ready for the amras or mango juice for our lunch. And she would be pacified and hurry off to check the mangoes in the storeroom. She would hand them over to the cook, Ananta, and he would prepare delicious lunch for us. It used to be amti, dal, roti, bhaji, vegetable, and rice with the dal. And we would sit on flat wooden stools, cross-legged, and enjoy the food. And the aroma of the food would waft through the air, and we would be thoroughly satisfied after having had so much activity in the morning. Later, my mother and aunts would help him to clear up and then go and have a siesta. And we cousins would either read comics, which we would get from the local librarian, or sometimes go and play Lagori. Lagori being an indigenous Indian subcontinent game played with flat 7 stones with 2 teams and a ball, and whoever put the 7 stones one on top of the other first without getting out would call out, "Lagori." There would be fun times. My 2 cousins, who were much older, would not come and play with us. Instead, they would sneak into my mother's dressing room and try out her lipstick because they thought they were young adults. And I'm sure my mother noticed later on because she would say, "Hey, konitari vaparlai. Somebody seems to have used it." But then she would not scold, though she knew who it was, because we were enjoying our holidays and nobody got scolded or punished. Later, my father would take us for a long drive to Rajmachi Point, and we would eat batata vadas and we would thoroughly enjoy there. And sometimes there would be some film shootings going on, and we would go and look at all our favorite film stars and actors. Then we would return back, and in the garden there would be the fireflies, and they would be twinkling in the dark night. And we could also smell the Ratrani, the night jasmine. It used to be beautiful. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. Then we would relax on the veranda, and my grandfather would get the kulfi, the ice cream, which he had got from the local kulfi wala. And he would, when he gave the kulfi wala the mangoes from the garden, he would tell him, "Ya ambachi kulfi bano, make kulfi from these mangoes." And we would all wonder, how did he trust him that he would use the same mangoes from our garden and get the kulfi made from it? But I think those were simpler times when people believed in one another and didn't break the trust. And suddenly the bell rang, tring, tring, and I was back to reality, back in my home in Mumbai. Today, when we pass the hill station, we sometimes feel bad that the house is no longer there, but we have our memories, and we cousins often meet at our family temple in Mumbai. And now we have new memories. And when I see children today on their iPad or playing on the PlayStation, even my two granddaughters, I wish they had seen the fireflies or played in the wet mud or smelled the Ratrani. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So that was sort of a nostalgic story.
It was, yes.
It was lovely, Manjiri. I appreciated all the details and the sensory elements and that sense of nostalgia. And I think it's a universal thing, looking back on our own childhoods and then on the childhoods that we see around us.
Yes. Thank you, Betty.
It was really a mouth-watering story, Manjiri. I could imagine me spending time at my grandparents' place and doing all the mischief and not wanting to be found out as to who did what, kind of a thing. And also the lovely goodies you were talking about. Wonderful.
Thank you, Shailaja. Thank you for your kind words.
Yeah, it was quite descriptive in the sense you said about the small bench you were sitting, such a small thing. Everything quite descriptive and quite, you could visualize it, the scenario, I felt.
Thank you, Parvati.
Manjiri, I think that's the kind of story that I love best, because it takes me to a place that I can almost picture, even though I was only in India for a fairly short time. I can taste the food, and I can play the games, and I have a sense of not only a very special kind of childhood, but the universal kind of childhood that you brought us to. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you very much.
It conjures an older India, because now there are not so many people living in big houses with extended families, multi-generations.
Very true. That is exactly my thought, Eric. Now, when my son comes down from San Francisco and we go and spend time, it's just for a brief period with his cousins and with my sister. And my daughter and my two granddaughters is just 3-4 days, and then they are back to their routine and you don't see them till next year. And
Mhm.
even they feel that they are not going to be as close to their cousins as we were.
Mm.
Yes, food sharing memories are so good. The only thing I have from my mother, the only thing I have written for my mother was no cooker, and I had a recipe for a sweet, something sweet, a dessert, and I told my sister-in-law that we have to prepare that recipe to think and cook and because it's a very, very good recipe. So
Mhm.
memories of food are very, very strong. Thank you.
Thank you, Vesta. Thank you, everyone, for listening in, and wish you all a happy new year. Thank you, Eric, for the platform.
Thank you.